in my car.
Huh.
Good morning.
No, just walking down here, like out of breath, and I'm like trying to catch the breath, and I was like, "Ooh,
And you don't have an inhaler.
no." I'm better. No,
We are good to go. Okay. Welcome, everyone, for the special meeting for Tuesday, March 26th, 2024, 9:30 a.m. of the Fraser Park Public Utility District. We do not have any additional teleconference locations today. And we're good to go. So we're going to start with a pledge to the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, everyone. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia is not present. Director Nyman.
Here,
Director Gibson in
Here.
person, yay. And Director Kelling.
I,
And I'm Director Schoenberg and I'm here, so that's 4 of us. We're gonna go on to item 2, discussion, vote, adjust agenda if necessary. Not a lot on here, but do we need to adjust anything? Okay, item number 3, public comment. So this is for items, it says listed on the agenda. It's supposed to be not listed on the agenda. So any items that are not listed on the agenda, and you can limit them to about 5 minutes. Does anyone have any public comments for us that are not currently on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. We will go on to item number 4. Discussion vote on FPPUD meter replacement projects and emergency well supply project. Welcome Oscar and Dee, and everyone else, of course. So we're gonna start with item 4A, which is a discussion vote update on meter replacement. Dee, that's you. Do you have some details on this?
Yeah, not sure. I don't see Curtis on here. But what we have done is we've been in contact with Jeff Ruff, and he has been in contact with Ferguson, and they're in contact with Neptune. They're trying to get the invoice from Neptune through Ferguson to Bruff. So hopefully he's going to get it today so that we can turn it in. So they're working on it right now. They've been working on it, well, since Monday. And so we should have something, I think, today. If not today, we're starting to run out of time tomorrow. But they're working as hard as they can to get this thing, to get the invoice off.
And can you explain a little bit about why we had talked about them putting the meters in the ground and us what we were going to do on that?
Yeah, the issue is that the state, I think maybe where you want me to go, Lisa, is the state, if we don't turn in an invoice by the end, well, Oscar, you can actually correct me if I'm wrong here, but if we don't get an invoice into the state by the end of the month, the state basically shuts down for the fiscal year to get all their books in order and everything else. And so, it may be 4 months before they issue another check. Oscar, check me if I'm wrong here. And so what I've been trying to do is get the invoice in for the cost of the meters, because that's going to be $250,000, maybe 300,000, something like that. And so we want to get that submitted so that the district doesn't have to come up with that money, and the contractor will get paid in a reasonable time. Oscar?
Yeah, that's correct, Dee, about the state closing down for the fiscal year. So as soon as you guys can get that, I can include that in claim 25 and if the board approves it in the meeting, I could actually send it out that same night. with the signatures, of course. And that'll be one less thing to worry about.
We're actually going to, and then, Johnny, hold on just a second. I believe we're going to try to pre-approve that if we can, today. So, Johnny, go ahead.
Yeah, I spent, me and Oscar, we spent several hours with Lawrence, and I had voiced our concern about not having enough money in the bridge loan to keep us going, and he's the one that suggested that we at least try this. He didn't guarantee that it would be paid for us, but he's the one that said, let's try it to get it in before the end of the month, so.
Okay. And I talked to Curtis yesterday, and he says that we'll be receiving the 3/4 inch meters today in Bakersfield.
Hopefully, I mean, I know they shipped yesterday, so it depends on where they have to ship from.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go on to funding and claims and payout, do you want to talk a little bit again about, the possibilities of, where they're being kept and how that works? Just for the
Yeah,
other
there may
board
be-
directors, because I don't think they heard the
Dee-
discussion.
Dee and Curtis both, well, let me back up. Jeff Bruff doesn't necessarily want to try to find a place in his yard to keep all the meters. So it was discussed, and Curtis pointed out that if Jeff Bruff still took responsibility for the meters until they get put in the ground, he asked if he could put a C-train in our yard because it's alarmed. And I said, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem, as long as, because Curtis is real big on making sure he signs the letter saying that he's still responsible.
Right.
So I cleared out, had the guys clear out a nice area so he could put a C-train and a trailer out there. So hopefully that's what's gonna happen with it.
Okay.
And then that letter, we just need, Oscar, we're gonna try to get a letter, and Dee knows about it with Curtis, but a letter ahead of time from Bruff, just saying that, you know, they have responsibility actually till the end of the project, from what I understand, until everything's in the ground, completed. We've, you know, given them the retention, and at that point, they actually belong to us. So, but just for, legalese issues, we wanted to make absolutely sure that that was understood between them and us. So we had talked to the project ad hoc and talked with Dee about getting some sort of very clear letter, just saying that they understand that it's still their responsibility despite the fact that it's in our yard.
And if we don't, then it will just stay in Bruff Construction's yard itself and we'll just move forward. So either way, it's gonna work out.
Okay.
Okay, so are there any other things to mention on 4A? And at this time, I would entertain,
I
because we
would
need
like
to.
to understand, now that we're at the deadline, 2 months ago, we have been bringing this up in the meeting. And now we have to have a special meeting. Why?
Well, I can explain that easily because the meters came in at a time that is the end of the fiscal year. We had no idea when they were gonna be here for sure. It's been over a year since we had any definitive proof. And because our money people at the state recommended that we do this, we had to have the emergency meeting. That's the only reason. There's no way we could foresee or foretell what's gonna happen down the road with shipments and stuff. Even until I was told they were actually shipped yesterday, everybody knows that anything could happen. So.
They felt like if we waited until the 28th, which is our actual meeting, for us to okay the claim with Oscar, I mean, we can look at it on the 28th, but if everything's already in place and basically pre-approved, then Oscar would be able to get it in before the deadline, because if we wait till the 28th, that basically only gives us the 29th. And if there's any issues, because I guess, I don't know why the funding closes down so quickly in March as opposed to April or May, because it's not, the fiscal year doesn't start again until
I'm assuming
July.
it's because so many projects going throughout the state of California, and they need the time.
Yeah, I think it's just how long it takes for them to look at the
Process
claim.
everything.
So, yeah, so that's just understanding. So we felt, and also there were some details that Dee wanted to talk to us about with, in the closed session as well. So rather than, Dee had we had 2 meetings with the project committee, but the project committee can't make any real decisions and shouldn't be. And really, we wanted the rest of the board to know. And yes, we could have waited until the 28th, but because this, we kind of need to vote on now, at least a pre-vote saying that we're okay with this. We thought that we wouldn't have enough time if we wait till the 28th, and then we added the closed sessions, because again, it takes up so much time if there's a lot of, Dee was kicking around some ideas, and I think that might take a little bit more time than we might have wanted to spend on the special meeting, I mean, on the regular meeting. So Dee's gonna, when we get to that area, Dee's gonna talk about some ideas that he had for the.
But we have been asking Dee to get invoices for the last 2 months.
But you can't get an invoice until they're shipped. Neptune is not gonna give it, it's like any other creditor. Until you actually receive something, they're not gonna give you an invoice for it. Neptune won't do it. They have to send the invoice to Ferguson. Ferguson has to send it to Jeff Bruff. And
So
none
then
of
we
that,
still don't even have.
but none of that stuff is ever gonna be executed
It's
until
gonna be
they
a,
were shipped. They were officially shipped. So now Neptune can give the invoice to Ferguson. And I'll be
that's-
talking to Ferguson today, because I had a long talk with two of the suppliers at Ferguson yesterday. And they said that they will also help expedite it to make sure it happens, that we get it. So that's why, nobody knew this was gonna happen.
So as I sit here, there still is no invoice.
Correct.
This didn't
they're
come up.
they're working on it. It's gonna be done
Okay.
today.
First of all, if the roles were reversed and all of a sudden we were being billed for something, say the generators before they even got here, we wouldn't even
We
consider.
wouldn't be able to pay.
We wouldn't even
Because we wouldn't
consider.
have them in hand.
Same thing with Ferguson and Neptune and Ferguson and Jeff Bruff. It just wasn't considered until they actually were shipped to us.
And we want to make sure that even though they're not gonna get paid immediately for the claim, and we can check everything before we physically give them the check. But we wanted to make sure that we had it in, because what Lawrence was saying is if we don't have it in by the end of this month, which is really this week. That it would be sometime in like August, September, it's so far off that we were concerned about.
Well, we really didn't know about the state deadline until this last meeting.
Yeah, I thought
We
it
didn't
was
know about
later.
anything. We
No,
could've-
because Oscar has told us about that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he was.
we couldn't, we
So-
still had no idea if we were gonna get the meters in March or April. We had no idea when we were gonna get it for sure. All we knew is what their estimated ship date was, which they've already pushed back a couple of times. So until they were actually on the truck coming our way, we had no way of knowing.
So are there any other questions under 4A? I'm gonna entertain the vote under 4C. Anything else under 4A, just for detail on what this is really about?
Yeah, one other comment, Lisa, and that is, in order to pay that invoice, in a reasonable amount of time, the district would have to go to its loan, the bridge loan, in order to make that payment. And I know the district was concerned that that's a pretty big payment. And we didn't want to draw that fund down too low. And so that's why, really maybe another reason why, we really need to get that invoice into the state in order to protect our own funding.
Yeah, I think we were concerned that there wouldn't be enough in the bridge loan if there are any other items come up, and that we're running so tight.
And we're having to wait so long for the payment to
And
come
we're
in
having to
from the
wait
state.
so long.
Because if we submit it after the 28th, now we're probably looking at August before we're gonna get a payment from the state.
September even.
Yeah, so
More
I mean, that's,
October. It would be more like,
Or, no, well, by the time we pay it, it would probably be on the October meeting, yeah.
and then you
So-
guys potentially have that, well 7 closeout and all the costs associated with that as well.
Which we're gonna need to use the bridge loan for. Possibly.
yeah, cause that's a hundred and probably 63,000, and plus we got, I think, 28,000 that we're gonna have to pay for, because we're gonna bring in, the materials that the state won't pay for.
Right, we still have to pay for everything the state didn't wanna pay for that we're able to use.
So that's
at a
like
later
almost
date.
$180-some thousand that we're gonna have to pay when they finally straighten this out in a month or so, and where's the money from that gonna come from?
And I think we really need to look at it instead of it being an inconvenience of a special meeting, that it's really a good thing, because the state's trying to get our contractor paid, so we don't have to jump through all these hoops. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to come up with that suggestion, so, and it may not even work out. It just depends on if we get it in time, so.
And I think the reason why we added the special meeting is so that we can also discuss some of these ideas and things that Dee has. At a lot, we're not pressed for time, so that if, you know, so that we can really talk about those things. So, I think that was important too, because Dee was talking about quite a few things that we can't, get to yet. So, and also to update, items in regard to what's going on with the well 8. So, okay, so anything else on 4A? Okay, so let's go to 4B, which is discussion vote on funding. And that, kind of is part of what we were already talking about, but I don't know if there's additional information or anything additional we need on that. The vote we're actually gonna do on 4C.
I have nothing, Lisa.
Any other issues, Oscar, we might need to be thinking about that we haven't considered funding wise, or are we
No,
looking okay?
I think you guys are doing everything that's humanly possible within what you're able to do, so. In anticipation of the state closing down and everything, this is the best viable option, I think.
Okay, well, with that, we'll move on to 4C. So on 4C, Oscar, you want to just talk a little bit about the claim itself, even though we don't have it in front of us? And, you know, and we would be adding to the, claim 25. And, if you want to just, you know, discuss that and what we might need to know, and then, I will entertain a pre-approval vote on.
Yeah, I mean, I can quickly just say, on claim 25, there's only one invoice. And it's for meter replacement correspondence of $339. For D. Jasper and Associates. So that's the only thing on the claim at this time. And then we'll be adding,
The meters.
hopefully, the meters if we get the invoice and everything, and if everything works out the way it's supposed to.
So I can't make a motion, or, if we want a motion first, then we can discuss a little further before we vote on that, if you would like.
So we're just gonna say blanket invoice.
No,
No.
because what we'll do is we'll pre-approve it, but we're still able to look at it on the 28th, and if there was some issue, it's just, it needs to be all ready to go, so that basically it can just be sent. I mean,
I was kind of hoping that if you pre-approved it, you pre-approve it according to the line item, so it's not like there's any discrepancy in.
Yeah, I mean, if
in
Oscar's
the
able
maximum
to,
amount, but I think waiting until the very last day to submit it.
yeah, we don't really want to
I
wait
mean,
until.
that seems to be even worse, waiting until the last moment.
But if there was some issue, we could also
Yeah.
stop things at the last moment.
Yeah.
So it could be pre-approved, but if we saw some horrible,
Better get it sent out tomorrow.
I make a motion that we approve the invoice from Bruff for
pre-approved.
pre-approved the invoice from Bruff for the meters that are being delivered today. And that we add it to the current claim to be approved on Thursday night. And if there's any issues on Thursday night, then we can remove it.
And would, as part of your motion, is Oscar able to submit this ahead of time because it's pre-approved today with the entire claim 25? And we
Yeah.
could just stop it if there was an
Yeah,
issue?
if the invoice comes in today and Oscar's able to update the claim, I motion that we approve claim 25 with the Bruff invoice.
Is
And
there,
that we can stop it on the 28th if there's a problem.
is there a second to that motion, and then we can have this more discussion?
I'll second it.
Okay, so hearing a motion and a seconder, which is, Gibson. Any other discussion on what the motion entails?
This is Joan. May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
that you could add a caveat onto your motion that would indicate that the actual check would not be issued to Bruff until you physically have the meters in your possession.
Yes, I'll add that friendly amendment that we do not issue a check to Ruff until we have, the meters.
Until the mayor's ready. to
Delivered,
put it,
yeah. Yeah,
Because technically, if you decide to
But-
keep them, we're not gonna
Right,
have them,
right.
we would still pay for them.
right, right. But the issue is that we're not, okay, that's the end of that motion, but the issue, do you accept that friendly
I
amendment?
do accept.
Okay, but the thing is that the whole point of issuing this is so that hopefully we get the money in 2 or 3 months. It doesn't mean we're gonna issue a check right away to Bruff. You know, it depends on the amount of the check and whether we still would have any kind of funding left in the bridge loan and all that.
We're
So-
hoping we can hold off and that
Right.
Bruff would be willing for us to hold off as long as the check might come in, May, May or June as opposed to October.
And that's the game plan why we're doing it like this.
Yes.
Cause he didn't start, if we would have waited and then asked him, hey, can you, wait 4 months? That wouldn't have been very good, but since he wasn't pushing for payment immediately, we're just getting a jump on the game.
Yes. Okay,
Okay, so we have a motion, we have friendly amendments to the motion, it's been motioned and seconded. Any other discussion before I take a roll call vote? Okay, Director Garcia is absent, Director Nyman,
aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling.
Have issues.
So
Would you-
abstain or no?
No or an abstention?
I abstain.
Okay, so Kelling is an abstention, Schoenberg is a yes. So that current motion is 3 yeses, 0 no's, 1 abstention and 1 absent. And that motion passes. And we will be putting in claim 25, Oscar, and then we just need that in front of us on the 28th. In case there's some issue and we go, no, never mind.
Yeah, and if you get the, if the invoice, gets done today, Dee, could you make sure that that it gets also sent to me and Lisa on the project committee so that we could review it? Because we know Oscar will be working on it, so I just want to see it before, I'd just like to see the invoice.
Yes, I can get it to you as soon as we get it.
Okay,
Okay, great, thank you. Okay,
I just wanted to add, technically, your guys' meeting is the 28th, correct? 28th?
correct.
At
So,
4.
what's that?
Yes, at 4 PM, Oscar.
4 PM, yeah. So technically, Form 261 is still gonna need your signature on it. And the cover letter is still gonna need Johnny's signature. So you guys have that time to review the invoice. As long as I get those signatures in, I can send it right after that meeting on the 24th, send it for
on the
approval.
28th.
Yeah, 28th, yeah, sorry.
Well, we actually, with this vote, we are able to sign it as well. It's basically approved. So if you have it ahead of time, I can sign with Tiffany, Johnny can sign, so it could be signed and
Sent before the
Sent.
meeting.
you would just need to pull it if there was an issue at the meeting.
That way we make sure we get it in.
Cause that was the big concern, was even like the night of the 28th, no one's gonna look at it. If something happens on the 29th, like all of a sudden there's some sun flare and computers aren't working and we can't get it in, we don't have to
I
worry.
mean, like Brown said, this is gonna be months till it comes, even if he sends in the claim and something comes up, you could easily just pull it back to the state and say. this is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
It's not gonna be a problem. They're gonna be putting in the 1 inch and the 2 inch meter, I'm guessing, maybe as soon as next week. For sure the week after, because Bruff wants to get those started, then the collector's antennas that go on top of the tanks, 2 tanks, can start uploading that data, so been a process that we're gonna go through, so.
Yeah, the big issue is just getting the paperwork into the
Yeah.
powers that be before their cutoff, which appears to be Friday, the 29th.
So if you can get that over, as soon as you do the invoice, if you can get that over, Oscar, you know, like today or tomorrow, then Lisa and Johnny can sign it and send it over, and then you can submit it before the 28th. That way we're way ahead of the deadline.
Yeah, I'll find a way to come in and sign it with, that's the electronic signatures we do, right?
Correct. Yeah, that works perfectly then. So as soon as I have, that invoice, I'll put it together and then I'll send those forms over to Tiffany for signature.
Yeah, because the whole point of the special meeting is that we're worried that something, for some reason, it may not get in before their deadline.
Okay.
Okay, is there anything else on item 4? I will move on to item 5. And
One more. Sorry,
Sure.
one more quick question. Did you guys already get the brass parts that you were wanting for connecting the
brass
meters?
The brass parts are at Ferguson. Ruff
Yay.
is leery of taking possession of them because Ferguson has a return cost of 35% to return an item. So anything he doesn't use. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get with Dee and Curtis, figure out how many we potentially need. I talked to Jeff Ruff to have approval by a board that if I buy a lot of them early, the same ones we use all the time, that if he needs any of them, he has to pay the district the cost of that. So he'll reimburse the district. And then if he doesn't have to use as many as I get, it's just like the curb stops that we will certainly use over the years. So that way it gets rough from one leaving them at Ferguson and maybe having them sold to somebody else and make sure that we're covered in that regard.
because it took a while to get those again,
Over-
like
yeah, over a
everything,
year.
it's a
Over a
supply issues.
So I don't want them to go away.
That's a good solution, Johnny. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Any other questions before I move on to the closed sessions? And then probably right after the closed sessions, I don't think we're probably gonna make any decisions there, but just so you know, Mary, Pam, and Joan, in case you do wanna leave, that the only thing after that is future agenda items, which I doubt we'll have any extra agenda items today on a special meeting. So just so you know, in case you don't wanna hang out, just so you can hear what our possible future agenda items are and any action that was taken. But if you want to hang out, you're welcome. And then Oscar, I think we're done, so we don't need, you can move on to other things you may need to do today. And
Thank you, Oscar.
thank you so much for being here. And we're gonna go into closed session. So let me read item 5. So, and item 6. So we'll be going into closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code 54956.9D1. The first one is Fraser Park Public Utility District versus CNC Elite Properties LLC et al. Kern County Superior Court, case number BCB-24-100199. That's item 5. And closed session, item 6. Pursuant to Government Code 54957, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8.
Alan's good.
Properties are 256-070-54 and 256-070-55. Agency negotiators Lisa Schoenberg, Roman Nyman, D. Jasper. Negotiating parties Jeff French, Emily Wainwright. Under negotiation price and terms of payment, and our attorney is here now. So we will be going into closed session right now, Alan, at 9:59.
Do you want to shut that door? Now?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Well,
No, I'm talking about this one here.
oh, and am I allowed to lock the front door during closed session?
Yes.
There's no Joyce here, is there? No.
Okay.
And thank you, Pam, and can they still hear us? Yes.
Huh? You can, yeah.
Thank you, Pam and Joan and everyone that was on here, Mary, for coming, in case you want to, exit before we come back out of session.
Good suggestions, Joan, thank you.
Okay, Joan, I'm gonna head out and get some work done. Just call me later.
Okay,
Return to an empty place. Oh, Joan's still here.
Let me know when. Okay. Okay, we're returning from our closed session. The time is 10:32. There was no action taken during the closed session, and so we are now going to move on to item 7. Item 7 is discussion vote on future agenda items. Or if there are any other items that need to be discussed by the public.
No.
Do we have any future agenda items that need to be added today? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second it.
Yeah, any questions on that? Okay, roll call directors. Director Garcia absent. Director Nyman.
Aye.
Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Schoenberg is an aye, so that motion passes 4-0-0 with 1 director absent. And with that, we will close this special meeting at 10:33 a.m.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Dee.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
Dee,
you.
stay on the line.
And we'll
Stay on
be,
the line for a second.
me?